Welcome to the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Gissal. This podcast is dedicated to helping you create a life that sets your soul on fire. I believe that is truly possible for everybody, but you have to be willing to do a few things. You have to be willing to let go of your past conditioning. You have to be willing to break free from societal norms. And you have to be willing to get really curious about your life and how you can start to look at it differently. Each week, we will hear stories from people who have done exactly this. People who chose to disrupt the life path they were on, go against the grain, and share the lessons and perspective shifts they had to make along the way. Every episode is committed to not only inspiring you and connecting you with other amazing humans, but actually giving you the tools you need to use this information in your own life so that you continue to evolve and reconnect with your highest self. Are you ready? Let's have some fun. Welcome to this week's episode of the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast. We are so grateful to have you here. And this week we spoke with Kelsey Eyers. Kelsey Eyers is the CEO and founder of Sweat CBD, and then she also has her newest business vertical called Boss Box. She is a business mentor that specializes in e-commerce and affiliate marketing. And then she also has a podcast, which is called Figuring It Out with Kelsey Eyers. She grew and scaled Sweat CBD to a multiple six-figure business in under a year and helped other e-commerce businesses do the same. So she has an expertise in affiliate marketing, and she did that through her growth of Sweat CBD. Boss Box is Kelsey's newest venture in her business portfolio, and it brings aspiring entrepreneurs an expedited, done-for-you online business, helping them to avoid wasting valuable time and money and fast-track their way to creating revenue with their online business. In the spring of 2021, Kelsey is also going to be launching a self-guided course called Degree in CPG. And this is for showing new CPG business owners the ins and outs of creating a CPG company. Whoa. Okay. So Kelsey is an amazing human that I really wanted you to meet. And it's because she has all of these things going on, and yet she still finds a way to live her life first. It's the most important thing to her. And so that's what we talk about. We talk about enjoying the journey, being able to ask for help. How do you have it all? The ebbs and flows of life and turning missed opportunities into our greatest, things that kind of slingshot us forward. So I'm excited to dive into this episode with you so that you can learn, hopefully just as much as I did from Kelsey. And at the end, make sure you hang in because I'm going to be talking about something that Kelsey and I actually talked about after the fact. And I think it's really important to hit on. So let's jump right in. Okay, welcome, Kelsey. I'm literally so pumped to have you on. This is so exciting for me.
I'm excited. I'm super excited.
And okay, so I like to always just get started with and allowing the listeners to get to know you a little bit better. Sometimes we learn some things about ourselves, you just never really know. So I'm going to have some just rapid fire questions. Are you ready for that?
Let's go.
Okay, first ones are pretty simple. So where are you from?
I am from West Salem, Wisconsin. It is a tiny, tiny town on the Mississippi River in southwest Wisconsin.
Another Midwest.
Proud Wisconsinite.
I love it. Where do you live now? You have 4 houses, don't you?
I live between Long Beach, California, and Kingman, Arizona, and we're currently trying to relocate to the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. So,
yes, all over the place.
All over the
place.
I love it.
I like it. So, family, pets, spouse, what do we need to know on that front?
So I am very close with my family. It's only me and my husband right now. We're going to plan to add to our family, probably maybe. That doesn't make sense. Probably maybe. That shows you how sure I am of this.
It sounds like you are very sure.
I'm very sure of how I want it. Yeah. How and when. Probably next year. But we have 2 little dogs, Teddy and Bear, a miniature schnauzer and a Shih Tzu, and we love them like they're our children. But I'm very close with my family as well, which is my mom, my dad, and my 2 brothers. And so me and my husband, and then my brothers and their significant others, my parents are always doing things together. And it's the main reason we want to move back to the Midwest, so we can do it every weekend instead of every month or every other month.
Oh my God. And we're actually going to talk about that because your
Okay.
family dynamic is something that I just love to see. So we'll get
Oh,
more into that.
okay.
Where is your favorite place to travel?
Ooh, that's a good question. I seriously was talking to my husband about this like 2 days ago. I'm like, what's your favorite place that we've ever been? Um, I am gonna say tie between like Postiano, Italy and Barcelona, Spain. Uh,
Ooh, okay.
Both of them centered around food.
I love that. That's where I knew you had my heart. So, okay, this is another one, but where have you always wanted to go?
Oh, I would really love to go to Switzerland, like in the dead of winter and stay in like the Swiss Alps in one of those like cool hotels with like the hot pools that you can swim out and
Ooh.
it just while it's snowing. I tell this to my husband too, and he's like, how does that sound fun? It's like -20. I'm like, I don't know. It sounds so fun to me though. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
I'm in for it. Like I've realized that I like to travel to winter.
Yeah.
So, I am not like too keen on the cold unless I'm purposefully going to be in it. Like we were just in Park City and I was like that was awesome
Yeah.
because I chose to go there.
Yeah. Something that I've actually learned about myself since I moved to California is how much I actually do love being cold. Like
Mm.
I think maybe it just my appreciation for it grew, but I love when it's like really cold outside and you have the fireplace on and it's just like you're so cozy inside. There's just something about that to me. But
Yeah, no, I feel yeah. Like I said, I just want to go to it. I don't
yeah.
want to be forced into it. I think I don't really like to be forced into things anymore in my life. But oh, I love that. So here's a kind of a fun one. Like, what do you have the most fun doing? I think I might know your answer.
Like going out to eat. Yeah. Me and my husband eat a lot. We're huge foodies and we just like our hobby is like finding all the best restaurants in any city that we go to. So we will like go make a list and then we'll hit like 5 in a day and just try everything. So, yes, might not be a great hobby for like the longevity of my life. But it's fun. I love it.
I'm about living in the here and now.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
fine. Oh my gosh. So this wasn't even on the list, but then what is your like favorite restaurant that you have found?
Oh, that is like way too loaded of a question because it would have to be broken down into like seafood and not even like including sushi. Sushi would be its own category. There'd be like Italian, there'd be like American steakhouse, there'd be like Japanese steakhouse. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
No, like we could spend did you guys know that we were gonna do a whole episode on
On food.
Kelsey's food reviews?
Seriously,
So
we were talking about starting a YouTube channel and like doing reviews. And then I'm like, yeah, but it'd be almost like awkward to be recording that at your table, like going over things. Like, I don't know. Like it would take away from the experience, I think. So
right. And sometimes we just need to just be in that moment.
I
So I love
agree.
it. Okay, what is your favorite book? This is kind of a selfish ask.
It's the millionaire mindset. Our mutual friend Jen Kennedy shared it with me, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It is like the only no, I'm not kidding. This is like the only book that I have ever read, like start to finish. I am dead serious. I have listened to like audiobooks, I listen to podcasts every single day, but I just have never been a reader.
So you're now the second person in a row to say, yeah, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind.
That's
So
what
we'll
it is.
make sure that
Secrets of
we
a
are like,
Millionaire Mind.
yeah, we'll make
Yes.
sure that we link that up because it is such a good book. And
Yeah.
so just remember, this is the only book Kelsey's ever read. So no, I'm just kidding.
I
No, that
swear to
it's
God.
really good. I love it. I love it. Okay, so last question is what was one of your favorite things to do as a kid?
Oh, we used to have like really insane neighborhood water balloon fights where we would like there would be like 10 kids on the block and we'd all have our own forts and we would make it like an entire day thing where we would like attack the other person's fort and it got really intense and I was no, there was one other girl and otherwise it was all boys. So it was just like a bloodbath. And it lasted from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It was fantastic. I remember that vividly.
Oh my gosh, that we need to reenact that. How often do you do that now?
I haven't done that in a minute, but you know how fun that would be?
We're gonna make that happen. That sounds like such a good time. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you for
Yeah.
answering all of those. And just for the listeners, Kelsey and I met about a year ago, just over a year ago in a mastermind. You're going to hear that a lot because it is one of the places, one of the big leaps of faith that I have taken that introduced me to some of the most amazing people that I know. And I want to make sure that you get to know them too. So I think at that point, you were running one business.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure that now, a year later, you're running four.
Or
But what I want to highlight here is that you're also living this amazing life where you're traveling with your spouse, you're spending tons of quality time with your family, which we touched on a little bit. And I want to get into that more. And something that I just want more people to understand is that we actually can have it all. But the question is how, right? So I just want, if you can share, like, how do you make time for all of it?
yeah. So honestly, I have always been good at kind of carving out like time where I need time. Like that's never something that I really lacked in. Only until this year did I ever feel myself getting to a point where I had to force myself to take a break. I've never really been a person who was like, I just want to work all the time. I love to have fun. I love to travel and explore and like I said, go eat and do fun things and be around people I love. So I've never had difficulty being knowing when to start and when to stop. And I also feel like in this past year, I have really come to find like my superpower, and it's like hyper productivity and like crazy organization and time management. So sometimes I feel like what most people fit into like 4 or 5 days, I have found myself to be able to fit into like one. So I think
Mm.
that having that superpower on my side is something that's really allowed me to take on so much, not feel overwhelmed, and like you said, still carve out a ton of time for my family and things that are important to me. I always say the reason I wanted to become an entrepreneur is because I saw, first of all, my husband doing it, and I'm like, I want that freedom, I want that time. So what do I got to do to get there? And so I've kind of built this life around that idea, and I just never compromised those things. So yeah, I mean, I feel like it's always something that is kind of come easy for me.
Oh, I love that. And it's funny because I'm with you. Like I always joke when people are like, I never used to be a workaholic. Like I would take time over like overtime or over the money.
Yeah,
Like all like for so long. And then I went into entrepreneurship and I felt like I went in like the total opposite direction. And I think so many people go into being entrepreneurs for that sense of freedom,
mhm,
whatever that means to them, but then they trap themselves. Right? Like then they because we're so caught up in the way that things used to be. If you were working a 9 to 5, then you had to work 9 to 8, or you've been told that the only way to be an entrepreneur or to be successful in your life is to work tons and tons of hours and like burn yourself out, and it just you can sleep later or like any of these things
yeah.
that are kind of like ingrained in us. So it's cool that you didn't allow yourself to fall into that trap.
Yeah, and honestly, like, don't get me wrong, like, I definitely have, those kind of beliefs in my head someday because I was working I was working before I was an entrepreneur, I was working 3 jobs. So it's like I was working super early in the morning to super late at night. So some days, if I'm only working from, like, 8 to noon, there is that little part of me that is going like, "Are you really giving your best effort? Like, are you setting yourself up for success?" Those kind of, like, ingrained thoughts in my head. But I have now seen that when I honor like how I feel that day, like for example, yesterday I was just really tired. I've had a long week thus far, and I just it was like 3 p.m. Normally I work till like 6. And I was just like, you know what? That's it for me today. And I honored that. And because of that today, I am so productive. But I feel like if I wouldn't have honored that, I would have probably drug through today as well. So through trial and error and just experience now, I've realized that just listening to yourself, listening to your body, it really does pay off. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said like I didn't still hold myself to those like unrealistic and unnecessary standards sometimes to like work a certain amount of days or work a certain amount of hours.
Yeah, and it is tough. Like you have to like you're in this constant battle with like those thoughts that are saying, but I think that there is a different way of doing it. It's just that we have lived in this world that there's only one way for so long that people like, oh, we can only like I schedule 2 hour time blocks per day. And if I feel like I really have something to give, or like maybe I took extra days off the week before, I might do 3 in a day. But like it's amazing when what you said is that I think the trick is you have to know yourself so well and
Yeah.
you have to be and then like the second part of that is you can know yourself really well and not honor it. Right. But you have to, like, if you can know yourself and know when you're tired and what your body is asking for, because it will always tell you what it needs and actually honor it, you show up so much better in
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Also, I love to work. So I feel like having that on my side, like I truly love it. And I'm not, I know that sounds like so cliche, like love what you do, but I really do. Like I get so much joy every day seeing like my businesses progress in a really fast manner because I am so like I'm so drawn and so connected to it. Um and I feel like obviously if you're not like you're not going to get that satisfaction and you're not going to get that like uplifting feeling that I get from this. So it is easy for me therefore to work longer than what most people would like to even as an entrepreneur, but yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. So it doesn't really feel like if I have to work on a Saturday or Sunday, I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like if I have extra things to do that does not bother me at all.
And I think you're bringing up a really good life lesson here because we really should love what we do. And so many people, even this does not have to be, you do not have to be an entrepreneur to know if energetically you are not attached or passionate or what you don't feel like you have a purpose in what you're doing, right? Like
Right.
and so being able to find that is so important because like I said, whether or not you're an entrepreneur or you're just simply you're working for somebody, it doesn't really matter. But if you aren't excited about being there, there's always another option.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And leading up to this point in my life, what's crazy is this whole thing. I mean, I've had sweat CBD for let's see, approaching 3 years, about 2.5 years. But this last year was really like the big transformative year for me for all of the for that business and then adding in three more. But like up to that point, I was literally lost as far as like knowing what I wanted to do and knowing what I was passionate about. I was only working at jobs in order to pay bills. I was never excited to go to work like ever. I was literally the queen of calling in sick. Like I was always, I can't be there, got to do this, I'm sick today. It was just like, and I would live for the weekend because I just couldn't wait to not have to like go back and pretend like I liked what I was doing. And it was just like a cycle, but it's just, it drains you mentally, physically. And I just knew it wasn't right. So, yeah, I had to take the leap in order to go into entrepreneurship and just really act on that, whether I failed or not. I needed to make a change and see if it would work.
Okay, so I think you hit on something that is going to touch a lot of people because most people live what you just said. Most people live for the weekend. They live in a job that drives them, that drains them in every aspect. And when we do that, unfortunately there's nothing left for the things that we actually do love to do. And so let me ask you this, what changed? What inspired that transformation to make that leap?
Honestly, in my head, it was like Okay, I seriously remember like sitting on I was living in San Clemente, California, and I got home from work one day and I was just thinking and I got a raise that day. So I should have been like excited, right? I was like, "Oh, this is cool," but it was like, $5 an hour. Like to which okay, yes, awesome, but like I remember thinking like, "Okay, so if I made another $5 an hour and then like another $5 an hour, I could probably make this much per month," and it was definitely not something like to be desired, that amount. um but deeper than that, I'm like, yeah, but that would literally require me going to that same place every single day, and I've only been there for a year and I can't stand it. So that in my head, I think it just scared me shitless, honestly. I was like, is this what I really want for my life? And then I think once my mind opened up to that, I started seeing opportunities a little bit different. So it wasn't just like one day I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. It literally was, all right, I'm going to quit this job. I'm going to travel. Going to learn a little bit about myself. And then while I was in that self discovery phase and had an open mind, I was introduced to CBD products and I was like, okay. And then it clicked. And then the next day I started my business. So it wasn't just like a one, two, three punch. It was like, it took a little bit of time. But I think that moment that I can like really vividly remember is what kind of was the switch in my mind.
Okay. So many things I feel like I could hit on with that. But it's funny because I love at some point, and if anybody of you are listening, because I've seen this time and time and again, and like Kelsey just said this, is that if something is not in alignment for you, it's just not energetically like you are not where you are supposed to be, it does not matter how much money somebody throws at you, you will feel the same way about it. You might get excited for like a day or a week or a month, and then you're going to be like, oh, and you're going to go right back to that same dreadful feeling.
Yep.
And they might try to give you more money, and you're going to say, okay, this is going to do it. And then
Yep.
it never, like, so if that is where you're at, it is time to start thinking, and like I said, I love that Kelsey said, like seeing opportunity differently and starting to see that like there are other options. And just because the way of the world for a long time has been go to college, get the job, stay at the job you hate for 30 years so that you can retire, does not mean that that has to be the path for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, just to piggyback off of that as well. So after I started my business, it wasn't like all of a sudden this big, like black and white difference either. It took me a while. It took me like a year and a half to get to really fully commit myself because when I started the business, I kind of said like, "Oh, I'm starting a business. I'm doing this," but I was like tippy-toed in. I wasn't fully into it, so I also wasn't getting that satisfaction. And I'm thinking in my head like, maybe I didn't make the right decision. Maybe I'm not meant to be an entrepreneur. Maybe I'm not going to be good at this. But it was because I was too scared to put myself out there in a way and be like, this is my business. I own this. Like, I'm going for it. I was scared of failing. So I kind of just like dipped my toe in the water. But I was still unfulfilled. Even when I made that transition to entrepreneurship, even when I kind of quote unquote took control, I still wasn't feeling that like, you know, satisfaction that I had hoped for. And so a year and a half into that is when I actually decided to like fully commit myself. And that was when I met you. And then that's when things changed. And that's when I started being able to go to sleep at night and put my head down and be proud of what I was accomplishing in a day. But just for anybody listening, it wasn't like all of a sudden that day on my living room floor, the switch flipped, and then all of a sudden I was happy. It took 2+ years from that point to that point to the point I'm at, or the point where I started changing really like a year and a half ago, for me to feel like, a true entrepreneur and to feel like I'm in control of my time and I'm setting my life up for happiness and fulfillment.
And that's such an important point because I think that when people think about the word purpose or they think of the word like that, it's a misunderstanding that purpose is something that we're either like born with or we're
Yeah.
just like you said, the light flips one day and all of a sudden you know exactly why you're here and exactly what you're supposed to be doing. most people fall into it. Most people trip into it. Like it is
Yeah.
not it takes like but the difference and what I hope people can understand is that you were willing to give it a shot and you were willing to and sometimes we have to sit with something for a while and we have to let it organically grow. And in that process, I have to ask you because in that 1 to 2 years, I have a feeling that there was way more that shifted. I mean, it was an internal transformation that actually made you feel like you were in like living in your purpose and all of that.
Yeah.
So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I honestly always tell people like not everybody needs to start a business in order to go on a journey of self-development or personal development, self-discovery, whatever you want to call it. Not everybody needs to do that. Some people can do that on their own. For me, I needed to do that. I needed to start a business or multiple businesses in order to hold myself accountable because I knew I needed to show up the best for everybody that I was working with, everybody that I was partnered with or was working for me. It just I wanted to be the best me in order to give my best to these circumstances. So what I found was that starting these businesses really, like I said, held me accountable, but also like gave me the drive to want to be better. Like I want to not only be personally be better, but like physically even be like at my healthiest, because it takes so much energy and so much like mental clarity and focus in order to do this with you when you have this many responsibilities on your plate. If you're not like on point, it's a struggle. Like you kind of like you could dig yourself a hole really fast.
Yeah, and it's like being super intentional with your time, but again, like it's that process of really getting to know yourself and being able to like yeah, you do have to take care of yourself on like a whole different level and I
Yeah.
think that I'm with you. Like it took me starting a business for me to slingshot myself into the self-discovery and the like really getting to the root cause of like why do I act the way I do? Where am
Yeah,
I struggling? Why do I feel this need to control? I mean, there's so many things we go through, right? And
for
I
sure.
think starting a business, like it throws you into that karmic fire of like you're gonna deal with your shit. But like
Mhm.
I am, if I could like I love that you said not everybody has to start a business to do that because every single person listening to this, you have that opportunity to do that right now. And it will improve every aspect of your life. Like I
Yeah.
promise you that.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely like the getting into like personal development as well. Also, I saw a difference in my business. And I think that's kind of what like fired me up to keep going with it. Because I haven't always been like the most like I don't know. I guess this is kind of hard to describe, but I haven't always been the person that's like really like takes care of myself a lot. Like I'm very empathetic. So like I feel like in growing up, I was always like wanting to take care of my brothers or my friends or make sure my mom and dad were good. Or just I never really was like thinking about like how do I actually feel. But what I realized is that like it's so important for me to like really focus on me and what makes me happy instead of worrying about everybody else all the time. Because if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm never going to be able to give not only my friends and my family everything, but my businesses and therefore my future everything.
Yeah. Really, really powerful. I love it all. Let me ask you, is there anything that you would like that you would change about your journey?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But yes and no. I mean, because there were some things that like I feel like could have been avoided if I would have not been so scared to ask for help at the beginning, which is essentially why I've started my new business now because I want to be that for other people. I want to help other people skip over like, the messy parts and get rid of the trial and error and just do it right the first time. If I would have had help like that at the beginning, I think I would be in a really different place right now. But at the same time, to counteract that, like a lot of those things like not necessarily in business, but in personal development and self-discovery. I wouldn't change those because a lot of the big mistakes I made really forced me to like take a look at myself. And I've learned more about me and who I am as a person in the past year than I think honestly in the 29 years before this. It's crazy. I have always been like I've always carried myself confidently, but I've never really been like fully confident on the inside because I was always kind of afraid to say certain things. I didn't want to make that this person mad. I didn't want to stand out too much, but I also didn't want to sit in the background. It was just like a constant battle with myself. And I'm kind of at a point where I just am super confident in my abilities and just most things about me. So I'm yeah, I'm happy. It's been it hasn't been pretty the whole time. Absolutely not. There's been a lot of tears and a lot of bad days, but there's also been way more good days and now it's led to this. So yeah, I mean, probably not. I think I'd just keep it the way it is.
Yeah, and it's amazing because we just really like sometimes we say we would yeah, we'd change things, but the life doesn't always give us what we want, but it always gives us exactly what we need. And for those are lessons that like you had to learn, but the cool thing is you're now taking those and you're able to help other people move through them a little bit faster.
Yeah,
And that's really powerful too. And I think the goal is understanding that life is like there are ebbs and flows to life, and
yeah,
not everything in life could be a mentor once said this to me. She said, like, there's a reason why the sunset goes away. Because if it didn't, you would sit there and you would never get anything done because of how beautiful it is. And I
yeah,
was like, wow, that's, I mean, something really that's pretty
yeah,
true. Like, if everything was sunshine and rainbows all the time, we would have nothing to get our butts into gear and do what we were came here to do and just
yeah.
like, take that action. So
Right.
they it
Yeah.
just
And
depends on how you look at it. Like every down moment is a gift because it taught us something and brought us closer to exactly who we're supposed to be.
yeah. And I'm also a realist. Like I don't think that like life is just supposed to be like picture perfect. And I know it's not going to be. It never will be just like this exactly what you think it's going to be. But like you said, it's things happen like how they're supposed to happen. And so if something doesn't work for you, like something better is coming. And honestly, I could not be a bigger testament to that. There's so many big, like quote unquote deals that I've missed while with starting my CBD company. Like there was so many big things that were supposed to happen and then fell through at the last minute. But had those things happen, I would have not had the time or the energy to dedicate to these things that I'm doing now, which one, fill me up in a completely different way. And two, are like far more revenue producing than that would have ever been. So it's like it yeah, it sucked for a minute, but it is now it was meant to happen. Now things are better. So yeah.
Yeah. I think letting go of those expectations, right? Our expectations. The funny thing is in life, we want things to go our way only. And it's like there's such a bigger, better plan out there. You just can't fathom it yet. And so it's fun because what I can hear like what you've done is you're able to take those moments and like sit in them for a second, but then leave the doors open for other opportunities to come through. And it sounds like you do that pretty effortlessly. Has it always been like that, or is that something
Um
you kind of learned?
oh yeah, that's definitely learned. Like definitely learned because I used to get super down and super upset if something didn't happen like how I thought it was going to, or say for instance like it something fell through and I didn't get this new client, right? And I would be like, "Oh, am I doing it wrong? Am I like priced too high or am I like what am I doing?" And I would put it on me instead of thinking like it's just not what the universe has set up for me right now, or maybe it's they're not in the space to commit themselves in this way. And so no, it definitely was learned, but having had it happen a lot of times. But now what's so cool is I'm actually now teaching people about this and teaching people about like holding their standards high and like not changing their price for somebody else's needs. And yeah, it's cool. It's just really cool to see how like it's like circular it's really become from like being that person to now like teaching those things.
Yeah, and like that's something I've been as much work as I've done, right? Like it's we are always peeling back layers, and there is like if we were perfect, we wouldn't be here. We're here because we still have lessons to learn. And so one that I've been working through right now is really this like I'm exactly where I need to be.
Hmm.
And as long as we are taking action and putting like I like to call it aligned action. So
Hmm.
I don't not really a big fan of messy action because I think that it like spins you in circles. But like if you're taking aligned action towards your goals, the universe will conspire with you to make it happen. And you do have to have the trust in yourself and something bigger that like it is leading you like you are exactly where you're supposed to be
Yeah.
as long as you're not standing still.
Yeah. Honestly, that resonates like a ton with me right now because like right before we jumped on to record here, you and I were talking about how right now I should be already back in the Midwest with my family living there permanently. But that's just not how it was meant to happen. And so I have to tell myself that every day. Like it as long as I am making the steps forward that I can control right now, it will happen, and it will happen in I'm sure, like, I don't move slow in anything I do. I move very quickly, so I think it's gonna happen a lot sooner than I think it's even going to, but I just need to just go with the flow sometimes. I have to remind myself of that every day, like, I'm not gonna just, like, fall over and die today, like, I just really need to take on all my responsibilities and be happy in the moment and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder that we remind ourselves of these things every single day.
Yeah.
And the fun thing about like your situation and so many situations that I'm sure most people, if you think back enough, you will realize that there's been things that have happened in your life that didn't go according to your plan and they have worked out better than you could have ever imagined. And because you're so relentless in your um pursuit to live the life that you want to live, it it is going to happen faster for you. Like it just because again, when we have that we leave the opportunities open, the universe or God or whatever it is that you resonate with is always going to come in to support you
Mhm.
and to spontaneously make things magically happen as they should, but only if you're taking the steps forward. And sometimes I feel like we give away our power to something bigger by saying like, oh, like the universe is so good, like this was just like, but nothing like it wouldn't be happening unless you were taking the steps to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to. I mean, nobody's going to do it for you. And I think that was one of the biggest realizations that I had. You know how I was talking about earlier that the first like year and a half of my first business, I almost had that in the back of my head. Like someday, one of those 50 or to 100, whatever emails would send out a day, one of those people was just going to get back to me and have this like end all be all, like, okay, we're going to set you up for life. Like I had that in my head almost, and it hinders you so much from taking like what is the word I'm looking for? From taking like what is the word I'm looking for, Stacy? Like not responsibility, but like like being accountable
Uh,
for your actions.
yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, for being like accountable for your actions, like you have to be actively moving forward and checking yourself. Like, are you doing what you need to do to move forward today? And that doesn't have to be like this big grand thing, but like if you are making small steps, I promise you it will add up. And it might seem like it's like pulling teeth at the beginning, but it really is adding up to big things.
Yeah, and that's in anything that you're going after in life. And I love, like, I want to elaborate on that a little bit because in my own story, is I was waiting for my husband to save me in my
Yeah.
business. Like, this is literally what I was waiting for. I was like, I had a story. I had a story that he was the business guy I had the nursing background. I had no business. He is the sales manager, sales operations. He's the business guy, right? And so in my head, I couldn't have a successful business. This was the story I was telling. I couldn't have a successful business unless he was part of it. And once I recognized, and so much of life is just being aware that these are stories that we're telling ourselves and there's no truth to them. Is as soon as I recognized I was telling myself that story, I had to connect and really like sit with that. And my next bold action, inspired, aligned action move was to separate our finances. I took away the plan B. I took away the safety net and I said, God damn it, I'm going to do this and
Yeah.
I can do this and I'm not going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to me because it's not the other people. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to just prove it to ourselves and that was like the very much the rip the band-aid moment that I was like this is scary as shit for me
Yeah.
because I am saying this is all on me. Like I'm taking full accountability. Like you said, I'm taking full responsibility for the shitty stories that I've been telling. And I'm going to prove to myself that I actually do have what it takes. And if he wants to come along for the ride, awesome. But I can't be waiting for him to come in and be my knight in shining armor.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, like honestly though, like proving it to yourself is in turn literally proving it to everybody. So I think we always get that mixed up. We're always trying to like prove ourselves to everybody who ever doubted us or like I'm going to show them, like that kind of attitude when really if you're not proving it to yourself, like you'll never prove it to anybody because you will be able to be read through so easily. And it's just like you carry yourself in a different way. And because of that, like I promise you, like if you do the self work and if you build your confidence and just honestly realize like how valuable your skill set is, like you won't even give people the chance to doubt you. Like they're all doubt will be gone. And I think that's like one of the biggest lessons that I've probably learned in my life is just how valuable my skill set is. My story was always telling myself, you're not educated enough. You don't know how to be an entrepreneur. You're not smart enough to do this. You're not like you have no idea what you're doing. Nobody in your family's ever owned a business like this. How like what makes you think you can do this? And then it was again, not overnight, but I slowly started to realize that how unique my skill set is and I think sometimes we look over it because we think that if I know this, everybody must know this. And
Oh, yes. Sorry, I don't mean to keep going.
and we just no, that's okay. I think we paused there for a tiny second, but
I think so too.
yeah, if I always think if I knew this, then I assume everybody does. But when you realize that's not the case, you start putting so much value to yourself, and then pretty soon you're going to be able to monetize that, and you will completely transform as a person and a business owner.
Yeah, and that's such a good point because we take our superpowers for granted because because stuff comes so easy to us, we just assume that everybody has that same thing. I actually have this conversation with my husband almost daily. I'm like, I don't talk like you and I know that this seems very simple in for you because you're so good at it, but I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like I need you to like break that down and like or just do it for me because I don't understand like it's just not easy for me. And I think that's how all of us we just don't see ourselves the way that other people see us sometimes and it's because we do take it for granted and
Yeah,
I think you're right about I spent most of my life trying to prove myself. And it was the second that I released that I actually was able to step into who I truly am.
yeah,
And I became a much more powerful human being in so many ways. Again, even like when I made that decision to separate some of our finances for a little while and take that responsibility, all of a sudden everything it was another growth level for me where I was able to say like everything did get like my business grew all of these things because I wasn't trying to prove it to anybody else. It was simply like I know that I have this within me.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so good. Okay, Kelsey, this has been amazing. I always like to end with this one question,
Okay.
which is um what is one lesson you feel like you're in the middle of learning right now?
Oh. Um, Even though I feel like I've gotten better at it, I think I'm still really in the thick right now of learning my value. And I feel that changing, like in just the way that conversations are flowing. Because I used to be like, oh yeah, I could probably make that work. And now if it doesn't fit in, like, how, I don't want to say like it necessarily even is a dollar amount. If it doesn't like energetically align, plus also, give me what I need as far as like monetary value at the same time, then I just need to say no. And I used to say yes to everything because I was like, if I miss this one opportunity, then that's going to be turning down the next and the next and the next. And it's actually the opposite. If you are not, if you're closing off one part of your life for something that doesn't even feel good, you're possibly shutting the door on so many things that could come along that feel good. So yeah, I mean, it's something I've gotten better at, but definitely still learning.
Oh, that's a great lesson. That is, yeah, I think we all are, it's a constant process of that. But thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people will resonate with that, that we can't say yes to everything, and we have to start to get really clear on where we want to be spending our time. A good friend of mine always says, um, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing to keep coming back to.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and it's really a scarcity type mindset to think that if you say no to that one thing, you're never going to have another opportunity again. So it's all like you're basically kind of doubting yourself by saying like, oh, if this opportunity doesn't work or I say no, then I'll never get another one again. Well, I don't know why we would tell ourselves that, because that's not the case. Like if you keep doing what you're doing, many more opportunities are going to come, and even better opportunities are going to come as you continue to grow.
well, I think that is an amazing place to end this interview, even though we could probably continue to talk all night long. Kelsey, thank you so much. And I know that people are going to want, like, first of all, Kelsey has the best CBD product out there. Products like I order lots of it. I actually just ordered more today because our little 14-year-old lady dog, I had to like clarify that was a dog. Um, like it's night and day when she is taking your products.
Oh,
I love them.
yeah.
My family loves them. So, but besides that, you also have so many other ways that you are helping entrepreneurs. And I want you to have a chance to just kind of share with the listeners how they can get in touch with you, what you have to offer, anything you want to share.
Sure. So, like Stacy said, I am the CEO and founder of Sweat CBD. We do have the world's best CBD products. We have a really, honestly, my business model with this has never been to, be on every big box retailer. Like, I wanted to reach people and connect with people and really help people, and hear the feedback. So I love doing that. You can find that at www.sweatcbd.com. And Stacy, do you have a code that you would like to share as well for anybody that wants to save 10%?
Yeah, so it's just Stacy 10. So STACY and 10. You can put it in there and you can save some money there too.
And then I also, my newest business vertical is called Boss Box. And we are working with aspiring entrepreneurs and current online business owners, essentially to help them skip over the messy parts, like I was talking about earlier. I put myself in those shoes a few years ago. And if I would have had somebody to help me kind of fast track my way to making money, I would be in a completely different place right now. I want to help people find all the help they need under one roof and not have to waste valuable time and money and energy trying to, find help all over the place and make a lot of really expensive mistakes. So what we do is we combine PR and marketing, branding and web design, social media management, and then business development and strategy all under one roof, and we build you an expedited online business. So you can find that at Bossbox is BOSSBOXX.co, just CO, not com. Bossbox.co. And we are currently accepting applications. We just launched the business about a month ago, but we already have a wait list. But we are looking forward to getting to know anybody who applies or has any questions about what we do.
Oh my gosh. So good. And I will make sure that all of that is linked up in the show notes so you don't have to fumble through and accidentally spell it wrong or whatever that looks like. So I'll make sure that you guys can connect with Kelsey in all the ways in the show notes because I know that she will make your life better. Kelsey is one of those people who has such a big heart, and she is like, I instantly connected with her, and she's somebody I'm not willing to let go. So I am just beyond grateful for you. Thank you for coming on the podcast and just sharing your story and just everything about you with
Oh,
the listeners.
the feeling is so mutual. I love our connection, and I know it's going to be a lifelong friendship for sure. And I'm very grateful for you. So thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Welcome to another Evolve Beyond Limits post show. So I wanted to talk about something that Kelsey and I actually talked about after we turned the microphones off. And then I was like, oh, this is actually really important. And that is that maybe you have good ideas too. And I say that because so often in life, what we end up doing is that we just blindly follow the people that we think are successful and we just follow their ways. And the thing is, the question that we don't ask is what feels good for you? So I want you to think about that. When was the last time you asked yourself that question? And I know that we have both men and women listening to this, and it might be similar, but I can almost guarantee that every single time I have asked a woman this question, she is like, oh, I don't know if I've ever asked myself that. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because I want to challenge you to start asking this question more. Ask it when it comes to how you're living your life. Ask it when it comes to running your business. Ask it when it comes to your relationship. Ask it when it comes to your family. Ask it when it comes to your sex life. Ask that question when it comes to how you eat or how you move. What feels good for you? I don't love this analogy, but I think it really hits the point here of there's more than one way to skin a cat. Just because something has been done one way for a very long time doesn't make it the best way for you. Are you willing to do things different? Are you willing to push the envelope? Are you willing to make a difference despite what may be stacked against you? If the other way doesn't feel good, stop trying to push your circle self through a square hole and find something else that does. Find something that feels good. You are unique, and so are your God-given gifts. Embrace those things instead of conforming. Allow yourself a freaking chance to be the one-of-a-kind individual that you actually are. Don't be afraid to grab hold of what feels good and let go of the rest. We can all arrive exactly where we need to be by traveling different paths. So don't knock the importance of your journey not being the same as someone else, because each is beautiful and each has a different lesson to learn along the way. We weren't put on this earth to be somebody else. So this week, I have a journaling prompt for you. I want you to think about where in your life are you trying to force something that really doesn't feel good for you. There is always a different way. But that different way you have to allow your creativity to come through. And the way that we allow our creativity to come through is cutting out the noise and going inward to find it. You're not going to find what you're looking for searching through what everyone else is doing. So I want you to think about that this week. And speaking of going inward, have you booked a white light session yet? Because this is an amazing opportunity to really do that, to go inward, to connect with your highest self. In those sessions, we identify what is probably blocking you from reaching your fullest potential. And we work on transforming your energy so that you can take the necessary steps to move through it and truly step into your power. So if that sounds like something you need right now, I only do so many a month, but you can go right to the website and book directly from there. And I'd love to connect with you in that way. And as you know, I want to hear from you. So make sure that you text me at 248-206-3431. You can text me there. Not only will you get to communicate directly with me, you're also going to get an oracle card pull once a week and just some other fun stuff that I may shoot out at you. So make sure you connect with me there. Tag me on Instagram with anything that you took from this episode. Make sure you tag Kelsey. Let her know if there was something that really resonated with you or it's exactly what you needed to hear this week. And until next week, be bold, be brave, but most importantly, just be you.